Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of DSA's Life by Design. And today we are joined by an incredibly talented designer from the South, Miss Gray Walker. Gray, it's a pleasure to have you on the series.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Let's start right from the beginning. You've had such an extraordinary career, and I want to jump all into it. So tell me about where it began. What led you to your career in interior design?
As a child, I always loved beautiful things. My mother was an artist, or is an artist. She doesn't paint anymore, but when I was a little girl, she was always painting and she was gardening. And my parents collected antiques, and I was just around art and design from an early age. And I knew that I loved beautiful things, but I never knew how I would put it together. And so it was a path. It was just my journey. And I went with it, and I majored in art history. My first degree was a BA at the University of Georgia in art history. Then I got out of school and I studied photography in Italy on a program that was through the University of Georgia in Cortona, Italy. And at that time, I knew I loved composition, and I thought I would be a photographer, and I looked into going to graduate school. Well, while I was doing that, I worked for an interior design firm that had helped my mother with her house in my hometown in South Carolina, and found that the composition that I truly loved was that of interior design. And that led me to go back to school, and I received a BFA in interior design from Winthrop University in South Carolina.
How would you describe your aesthetic, your vision around being able to design people's homes?
Well, because I grew up in the South, I am obviously deeply related to Southern interiors. But as I grew up and studied art and design, I became involved and gravitated to modern art, to Italian and French design. And I think that everything that I do is based in a historic concept. Like, I love the story of place and time, but I'll try to elevate it, or my goal is to elevate it to a more modern time for living.
It's really terrific that you're bridging the gap between cool contemporary and collective heritage. Are there go-to items that you have to help bridge this gap successfully?
That stems from what my client has to begin with. So if I'm working with someone who has a lot of antiques, I will pull in more modern upholstery, modern art. Photography is great to mix in with antiques, rugs. And if I'm working with somebody who has a lot of modern things, then I'll pull in the patina with the antiques. And so it just depends on what my client has got to start with as to where I go to shop, or what I'll pull in for them to look at and purchase.
Tell me about some of your influences. Who are some of the people you look up to and who have had a truly powerful effect on what you're doing?
I'll have to start off with Elsa DeWolf, Rose Cumming, Sister Parrish, and then in modern times, I would say Bunny Williams.
How important is it for you to connect with people from your history, designers from your history? And do you encourage clients to dig deeper and discover important items that will help them connect with their own personal history?
I do, and I like to work with things that my clients have got or inherited. I think that's really important because I think it tells a story of who you are. So my initial walkthrough, I will zone in. I don't know, it just happens. I'll zone in on 2 or 3 items that a client might have, and that will, in the back of my mind, be what I think about to start my design with that project. Whether it be a renovation or a full house construction, there'll always be 2 or 3 items or 2 or 3 things that I gather from them while I meet with them on that initial meeting that drive the design for the project. So yes, I listen to people when I walk through their homes, and they'll say, well, my grandmother gave me this, and I don't really love it, but it's very important to me. And then I might come up with a way that it becomes fresh and exciting for them in a new home, and a way to use it that they would not have thought of. And the design can be driven from just that one object, and then it tells a story of who they are.
You'd mentioned Italy, and I would imagine that traveling has probably had a significant influence in helping you really curate your taste. How has traveling influenced your design?
Well, I love travel. I love Italy is one of my favorite places on earth. The Amalfi Coast is my favorite place to go to. Um, and I think that when you understand the history of interiors and you visit countries with a history of antiques, you learn so much about what was going on at that time in the world, in that culture, and that can drive a complete design for me. So understanding story and place and what was going on in the country at that time with manufacturing or craftsmanship is just, I mean, I think it's such a wonderful way to tell a story of a room or a piece that can start a room. So that's what I love about travel, is learning about the history and the culture of the country, so that I can fall in love with that design process or that period of time.
What were some of the biggest obstacles you faced while building your business?
You know, there are a lot of bad clients out there. I hate to say that, but when you're young, you have to build your way up. And building your way up is not so easy. You have to do a lot of stuff that you don't want to do. You have to work for some people that might not be the best fit for you, but you're building your business, you're paying the bills, you're building your reputation, you're building your portfolio. So you stick with that. And then when you get to be my age, people come to you for your style. And that's just sort of that's really nice. But it's just sticking with it and staying true to what you're doing, and knowing that, you know, you've got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps when the going gets tough, or when you get disillusioned with the whole process, because you can do that, but you just have to, your passion for interior design will get you through, and that's what happens.
How has social media played into building your business, both in the past and currently?
Well, you know, when I started in interior design, I don't even think that we had computers. We did not even have computers. This whole social media thing has been quite a learning experience for me. I knew that I needed to get with it and have a young girl in the office, which I have, who is in charge of all the social media. But it is important, and it's a fun way to express yourself, I think. But I have found my business is really from my reputation, referrals, you know, and building that portfolio. But the social media, you do have to be a part of. And that's something that I've learned in the past, you know, I don't know, 5-6 years. You have to get involved in that and be a part of it. And I didn't even want to be on Facebook. That was just too, I'm just very private that way. So finally, one day I thought, well, I've got to be on Facebook and Instagram, and I've got to make myself do these things. It's good to find somebody else to do it for you, but you can be creatively behind it, guiding it. And it's something that is part of this world now, and this creative business.
So you'd mentioned referrals.
Mhm.
Is it something that you build into, in terms of, are you actively trying to take on new clients, or do you have the bandwidth to take on new clients?
Right now, I am working on, I'm a little bit, let's say, I think I'm at maximum level right now. I have a project that I'm working on in upstate New York that is a massive renovation and addition to an old home that was built in 1900. That is taking a lot of our time. And then I have projects that are kind of falling beneath that. And then I've already got a project in the hopper in Charlotte. So a house that will be, an architect is working on the plans right this moment. So I'll be starting on that, I think, probably in the next 5 months. And so I've got 2 really large projects with other projects beneath that range in different sizes. So I am at maximum level, but you are always on the hunt for that next project, right? It's a whale hunt is what I call it.
What approach or process do you have when you present a design concept to a client? How do you take it from start to helping them understand exactly what you're thinking?
The first thing that I do is, okay, we've got lighting. When you're doing full construction, we're going to select lighting. And so I work on a preliminary furniture plan, and I'll show that in 2D on a floor plan. And then the lighting plan will evolve from that, because that's the first thing you've got to have selected. Then we move into fine tuning the furniture and fabric selections. And I like for a house to flow. So the first thing that's got to be decided is what's going to happen in this foyer, or what was maybe the piece that really caught my eye on that initial walkthrough. And I'll place that. I might place 2 or 3 things if I've got those 2 or 3 things to work from. If I don't, then it's just a clean slate. And I like to decide how the in and out of the house is going to move. And so in my mind, I'm working on all these things and present it slowly to my client, because they can only absorb so much at a time. Of the house in New York, I knew that we needed a main foyer wallpaper that goes up 3 stories of the house. So I thought, let's select this first, and then everything's going to come off of that. So we select the furniture, the fabrics, then the rugs, but I'd selected the lighting before any of this happened. But in the process of that, you still have to have all these other things stewing in your mind, because it could be that I custom color some lights, or I do things that feel time appropriate to the wallpaper that I selected. So it's a multi-step process, and I use lots of tricks and gimmicks. I've got a junior designer in the office that does a lot of things that I don't know how to do on the computer to show wallpaper in perspective, and we can drop things in and out. And we've got lots of tools and tricks of the trade that we use on the computer in perspective drawings.
Is there a dream project for you, Gray? Is there something out there? You'd mentioned whale hunting. Is there a great white whale out there that you're hunting for a design project?
I think that's what I'm working on right now. It's the project in New York. It's like a dream project. It's really exciting. We're working on taking the home that was built in 1900 back to its glory days, and I'm kind of seeing it in the 1930s, red, white, and blue, classic American, and I'm very excited about it.
When you look at how you have changed as a designer over these years, how would you really quantify that change? How have you evolved? How have you adapted?
Well, the social media was a big part of it for me. Like I said, when I started in this business, we didn't have computers. So I've had to adapt to the kind of constant bragging that people do on social media. That was just not an easy thing for me to do, but you have to do that. So I've learned to adapt to that. And I think the social media is the biggest part. And also, I think that being an old-fashioned decorator, which is what I think I am, I'm probably at the generation after mine, 2 or 3 generations maybe beneath me, will be the really new interior designers, the ones that started out with social media in their bag of tricks from the very beginning. I've had to adapt to all that. So I've learned the old-fashioned way. And I think that the social media is the hardest thing for me.
What are your 3 most coveted pieces?
Well, I love antiques. I have a French Empire barometer that I love. I have a 15th century Murano glass Venetian mirror in my dining room that I love. And then any piece of my children's artwork when they were little is cherished.
What advice would you give to younger designers in the industry about how to be successful?
To hear the beat of your own drummer, to believe in yourself. Do not worry about your competition. Do your best, be yourself, and work hard.
Well, this was absolutely wonderful, Gray. I mean, you've obviously built a very successful business, and just looking at your work on your website, you've done an incredible, incredible job. And it's been absolutely a pleasure having you on Life by Design. A brilliant career, and it sounds like it's nowhere near finished. So keep growing and keep doing everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being here.
Thank you.